sugar, never eat gluten, chocolate's bad for you, these foods are good and these foods are bad. I'm sure you've heard these statements before. I'm sure you've said these statements before. Hell, I confess, I definitely have. But this sort of negative talk that we have around food can be really damaging to children. Hi there, welcome back to my channel. Or if you're new here, welcome to Shelley's Good Eats. And if you're a little bit confused about why I, the person with no kids, is suddenly talking about kids and nutrition and what you should be feeding your kids, go and check out one of my first videos, which is introducing me and what this channel is going to be all about. I'll link it up here, otherwise it'll also be in the comments below. Okay, so I have a question. Do you swear in front of your kids? I think the answer would be no, or at least you try not to, because you don't want your kids to pick up on that bad language. So in the same sense, we shouldn't be using negative language about food in front of our kids, because we don't want them to pick up on this language and behaviour. Diet culture is built on marketing foods as really bad, that we should stick away from them, or that foods are so good that they're the ones we should eat. And it also just happens that they're usually the more expensive ones. But that's an issue for another video. Children are like sponges. They absorb everything that we tell them. It might not seem like it at the time, but then someday, weeks ahead, they'll come out with this random statement that you said weeks ago. Can't really help them from absorbing diet culture and all of it that's around us, because it is all around us. But what we can help them with is to develop a healthy relationship with food so that they're not as affected by diet culture that they see out there. Because I get it, we don't necessarily want our kids to eat a whole cake, but eating a slice of cake isn't that bad. And we're also not saying that we're going to completely disregard nutrition and we don't need them to eat their vegetables or fruit. That's still very important, but it's also important to teach them that these foods aren't restricted. Because telling your kids that carbs are evil or you need to exercise to eat that piece of cake is really just going to create a negative space in their head about food and exercise. It's going to create this judgment that it's not a nice thing. And what it can potentially do down the track is lead to restricting behaviours, eating disorders, which we're seeing a dramatic rise in lately in younger and younger children. And I know that's not what you want for your kids, and this video is not about me judging you, or like I said, I've also said those negative things about food before. We say it, but it's just really important to protect that from our children. Because it's important to teach your kids that they can eat these foods like cakes and lollies, and even going as far as actually offering it to them. And that comes down to this psychology that people always want what they can't have. So if we say, no, you can't have cake, you can't have those chips, then of course they're going to want it more because they're not allowed it. So that's why it is really important to use a positive language around these foods that are typically deemed unhealthy, because we don't want our kids to then be craving them even more because they never allowed them. Anyway, that is it for today. It's not a super long one, but I just really wanted to come and talk to you a little bit about language, and I'm hoping to expand on this in another video about actual particular language that we use. If you did enjoy this video, please go like and subscribe to my channel on YouTube so that you don't miss out on any, and also watch some of the ones that I've already put up to give you a bit more of an insight on me and what this channel is going to be all about.